What's up, everybody? This is game 7 of the Linares match between uh, Vasily Ivanchuk and Vishy Anand. Took place in 1992. We went over the first two games, which Anand won with both black and white, respectively, and then there were four straight draws, games 3, 4, 5, and 6, and it was an 8-game match. And again, Ivanchuk was the heavy favorite, and Anand was up 2 games to none. So basically, Ivanchuk could only draw at this point. So he would have to win game 7 and game 8. All right. So the game started off with Ivanchuk here with the white pieces and Anand with the black pieces. Started off as a Sicilian, and we got this like rouser setup. And Anand deviates from games 1, 3, and 5 and playing bishop e7. He had previously just played the move a6, getting his queen side counterplay underway. But here he says he wanted to switch it up, so he played bishop e7 first, and playing a more classical approach, castling. Whereas before, especially in game 1, Anand stayed in the middle of the board and won a brilliant game. But here, keeps it closer to the vest. The knight takes d4, queen takes d4, and queen e5. So well known. Bishop c4, bishop d7, and now white strikes e5, d takes, f takes, and now bishop c6 is played. And of course, bishop d2, of course, the idea is that if e takes f6, then queen takes g5 with check. So that's an important move right here. And black would just be winning at this point. Okay, if king b1, then g takes f6. If queen d2, just simply bishop takes f6. So e takes f6 would be a blunder. This is why we play bishop d2. And now the knight has to move. And you can see this double attack here against the e5 pawn. Knight d5. Queen c5. Knight takes e7. Queen takes e7. So Ivanchuk has some small advantages here. And which consist of the two bishops, and also a space advantage with this pawn on e5. Other than that, black's position is very solid, but he doesn't really have any winning chances, but maybe just to hold. So I don't really like this position for black. Solid enough, but it's basically there only can be two results, either a white win or a draw. It's not a dynamic position. I don't think you would like to play this type of position being a Sicilian player. Maybe if you're a Rui Lopez player or a French player or a Carol Khan player, somebody that enjoys a nice pawn structure but doesn't mind being tortured for 30 or 40 moves, then you may like this kind of position as black. Rook fd8 by Anand. Queen g4. Knight comes to f8. Bishop d3, and now Anand is starting to feel the pressure as the pieces are starting to congregate on the king side. And now rook takes d3, so he gives up the exchange here. C takes d3, and now queen d7. King b1. Now bishop c3 was definitely a possibility here. For example, just to preserve the pawn, bishop c3, and then perhaps knight g6. I don't see nothing wrong with that, where white enjoys a good plus here. He played king b1 immediately, and queen d3 by Anand, king a1, and queen a5, queen g3, And here, I'm not sure if Ivanchuk has compensation. Um, well, he does have compensation for the pawn, but um, I don't know how much. I don't. I would have liked the just moving this bishop here to c3. I think that's a bigger advantage for black here. Excuse me, for white. For example, king b1, rook d8, and then play a move like h4 and knight e7 and h5. With some attacking chances on the king side. h6. I like this kind of setup. Again, I feel like white has all the chances to play here for a win. So king b1 was played, queen d3, just giving up the pawn. Then Anand goes for the queen trade, and now bishop c3, and now h6. If h5, then rook f1, queen g4, queen f2, rook f8, and g3 is possible. So white always has a pull in this position. h6, rook f1, queen e4, rook d2, bishop d5, b3, rook c8, king b2, a6, rook d f2, rook c7, rook e1, and Anand just doesn't have enough to compensate for being down in exchange here. Now Ivanchuk goes for the exchange. Knight g6, g3. Okay, it's hard to put that knight somewhere. And rook d4 and rook df4. So there's a lot of pressure here. So it's keeping this, keeping this rook honest here on c7. So rook d7, now h4, and now Anand cracks under pressure and plays the move h5, whereas he wanted to play g6 here. And his idea is basically when white plays b4 and a4, black plays b5. So he's basically admitting that he has a tough position, but that he might be able to hold here. He feels that h5 was a little bit too much. Allows this nice breakthrough here, g4. And then he played h takes g4. And Anand gave that move a question mark, h takes g4, and preferred knight e7. But after knight e7, he gives g takes h5. And knight a5 with a small advantage to white. But nevertheless, white has a very pleasant position. And I think eventually white can work out some type of breakthrough here. Okay, so h takes g4, rook takes g4, knight e7, h5, and now he plays bishop c6. Now the problem with knight f5 is that rook takes f5 can be played. Then after e takes f5, the shot rook takes g7, because what has happened is this pawn has been freed up to move, so there's going to be a discovered check. So there's a little tactical blow there. Okay, so bishop c6, h6, knight g6, h takes g7, king takes b4, bishop d6, and Ivanchuk just went on to dominate and defeat Anand in game 7. So just showing you the rest of the moves real quick. So at this point, Anand resigned, and the score was now 2-1 with 1 game left to be played.